I don't belong here anymore. Not in this world that worships money like it's a god, that dresses up consumption as the highest virtue and turns celebrities into idols to be adored, envied, and endlessly consumed. Every day I wake up and the same feeling hits me, a sinking, gnawing emptiness, that the world around me just keeps spinning, pretending that value is something you can buy or sell, that meaning is measured in likes and followers, that happiness is something you find in a brand new gadget or a pair of shoes or a lifestyle carefully curated on Instagram. I watch as people bow down to this hollow altar, sacrificing their time, their health, their humanity to chase after illusions. And I wonder how we got here. How did we end up in a culture where a person's worth is measured by their paycheck or their social media clout, where empathy is replaced by envy, where connection is replaced by comparison, where the things that should matter most, kindness, honesty, depth, are buried under piles of plastic and sponsored content? The worship of money is the religion of this age. It promises salvation through accumulation, but delivers only emptiness and exhaustion. We are taught from the moment we can understand that to have is to be, that your value lies in your bank, your possessions, your ability to consume. Advertisements bombard us relentlessly with the message that we are incomplete without the latest phone, the trendiest shoes, the perfect house. They tell us that happiness can be purchased, that success is a status symbol, to be displayed like a trophy, and so we chase. We work jobs we hate for things we don't need, to impress people we don't care about. We live in a constant state of scarcity and desire, forever reaching for the next upgrade, the next thrill, the next moment of validation. But no matter how much we buy, how many things we collect, the emptiness remains. The void inside us grows louder and the cycle repeats. Consumer culture is a machine built to consume us from the inside out. It thrives on dissatisfaction, on making us feel never quite enough. It teaches us to define ourselves by what we own instead of who we are. It commodifies our identities, turning every choice, every preference, every moment of self-expression into a marketable product. We scroll through endless feeds filled with curated images of perfection, perfect bodies, perfect homes, perfect lives, carefully edited and filtered to hide the cracks, the pain, the failures. We compare ourselves to these impossible ideals and find ourselves wanting. We try harder to fit in, to be seen, to belong in a world that values surface over substance, and in the process, we lose ourselves. We forget how to be content with simply existing. We forget how to find joy without consumption. We forget that our worth isn't tied to our purchases or our online presence. Then there are the celebrities, the shiny distractions, the new gods of this era. We elevate them to a pedestal, watching their every move, analyzing their lives like scripture. We buy their products, mimic their styles, obsess over their scandals. The cult of celebrity fills the void left by lost community and meaning. We don't celebrate these people because of their art or their values, but because they embody the fantasy of success and escape. They live lives we can only dream of: wealth, fame, adoration. So we watch, entranced and envious, hoping some of their magic will rub off on us. But it's a lie. Behind the glitz and glamour are often the same insecurities, loneliness and emptiness that haunt the rest of us. We celebrate the spectacle and ignore the person. The celebrity becomes a mirror, reflecting our desires and our failures, but never the truth. This culture of worship is a slow poison. It numbs us to real suffering, real connection, real joy. We trade depth for distraction, substance for spectacle. The more we consume, the less we understand what truly matters. We fill our lives with noise, so we don't have to face the silence where the real questions live. Who am I beyond my possessions? What does it mean to live a meaningful life? Why do I keep chasing after things that never satisfy? These questions are uncomfortable, and the culture we live in does everything to drown them out. Instead, it offers quick fixes, shopping sprees, viral videos, reality TV, anything to keep us distracted and compliant. I feel trapped in this cycle, like a ghost wandering a world that no longer feels like home. I see people around me exhausted by the grind, weighed down by debt and anxiety, addicted to validation and approval. I see communities fractured by competition and comparison. I see kindness traded for clicks and empathy replaced by envy. The very things that should connect, the ability to love, to care, to create, are commodified and sold back to us as products. And I wonder if there is any escape from this, if we can find a way back to something real, something lasting, something that doesn't come with a price tag. Maybe the worst part is how normal this all feels, how impossible it seems to imagine a different way of living when everything is designed to keep us hooked on consumption and spectacle. How we convince ourselves that this is just the way things are, that the worship of money and fame is inevitable. But it doesn't have to be. We can choose to stop worshipping these hollow idols. We can choose to reclaim our time, our attention, our humanity. It starts by looking honestly at what we've lost and what we've traded away. It starts by turning off the noise and finding moments of silence and reflection. It starts by remembering that our worth isn't measured in dollars or followers, but in the simple, unquantifiable acts of being human. I don't have the answers, and maybe there are none. Maybe this is the world we're stuck with, a world where meaning is sold in pieces and love is a commodity. But I refuse to fully give in. I refuse to let this worship of money and celebrity define me or the world I want to be part of. Even in the darkness, there are flickers of something else, small acts of kindness, honest conversations, moments of stillness. They remind me that beyond the glitter and the noise, there is still something real, something worth holding on to, something worth fighting for. The money obsession isn't just about dollars and cents. It's about power. It's about control. Those who hold the most money hold the most influence, shaping laws, media, culture. They decide what we see, what we buy, what we believe. And the rest of us, we are puppets dancing on strings we don't even know exist, desperate to be seen, desperate to be chosen, desperate to be valued. We give them our time and attention as if it were currency, and they take it without a second thought. The rich get richer, while the rest of us scramble for scraps, convinced that if we just work harder, buy smarter, post more perfectly, we'll catch up. But the game is rigged, and the winners keep moving the finish line farther away. Social media is the ultimate expression of this worship culture. It reduces our identities to numbers, likes, views, followers, and teaches us to perform endlessly for a faceless audience. We curate versions of ourselves that we think will attract approval, building personal brands instead of genuine relationships. We scroll through highlight reels of other people's lives, comparing ourselves to edited moments of joy and success, forgetting that everyone's reality is messy and flawed beneath the surface. This endless comparison breeds insecurity, anxiety, and loneliness. We seek validation in digital applause, but find only silence or judgment. It's a trap disguised as connection, and we fall into it every day. Celebrities exploit this hunger for belonging and admiration. They sell us fantasies of escape, success, and glamour, but they are often prisoners of the same system, shackled by contracts, public expectations, and constant scrutiny. The personas we see are carefully constructed, and the truth behind the scenes is often painful and isolating. Still, we consume every detail, every scandal, every triumph, as if their lives hold the answers to our own emptiness. The cult of celebrity is a distraction from the real work of facing our loneliness, our fears, our fractured society. Consumerism has become a form of therapy for a world that is starving for meaning. We buy to fill holes inside us that were never meant to be filled with things. The endless cycle of desire and acquisition becomes a kind of addiction, one that leaves us more empty and restless with each purchase. We chase the newest, the fastest, the flashiest, hoping to catch a glimpse of happiness. But happiness, if it ever comes, is fleeting. It evaporates as soon as the next craving arises. We become addicted to anticipation and novelty, not contentment or peace, and all the while, the planet suffers. The environmental cost of this consumer culture is staggering: deforestation, pollution, climate change, species extinction. The earth groans under the weight of our greed, and yet we keep buying, keep consuming, as if the resources are infinite. The future is sold as a product too, a shiny promise of better technology and innovation that will fix all our problems. But the truth is that our current path is unsustainable. We are burning through the world's resources like there is no tomorrow. While the idea of progress blinds us to the limits of the planet, I feel like a ghost watching this all unfold, detached and disillusioned, watching people sacrifice their well-being and relationships for the illusion of wealth and status, watching society fracture into tribes that compete for attention and power, watching kindness and empathy become secondary to competition and spectacle. It is a lonely place to be, to see the world for what it is, but not know how to change it, to want to unplug from the system, but be tethered by its demands. And yet, somewhere deep inside, there is a flicker of hope, not the naive hope of fairy tales or grand revolutions, but the quiet hope that comes from recognizing the truth and refusing to participate in the madness. The hope that maybe if enough of us stop worshipping money and celebrities, stop chasing empty dreams, we can reclaim something real, something that no algorithm or advertisement can sell. The hope that humanity can remember how to be human again. Don't know how long that hope will last, or if it is enough to pull us back from the edge, but I hold on to it anyway, because without hope, all that remains is despair, and despair is a weight too heavy to carry alone. I can feel it every time I check my phone, the endless scroll of images and videos, crafted to pull me deeper into a world where meaning is a commodity and everything is for sale. It's a carnival of illusions, a place where the lines between reality and performance blur until you can't tell the difference. Everyone is performing, from influencers selling their curated lives to corporations peddling the latest must-have product. The pressure to perform, to be seen, to monetize every moment is exhausting. I watch people I know, friends even, caught in this cycle, posting the perfect picture, crafting the perfect caption, measuring their worth in likes and comments, and I wonder how much of their true selves have been sacrificed. The worship of money doesn't just shape what we buy, shapes who we are. It tells us that our value is tied to our productivity, our efficiency, our ability to generate profit. We are no longer humans with hopes, fears, and stories. We become cogs in a vast economic machine, valued only for what we can contribute to the bottom line. The system rewards those who can play the game best, who can sell themselves as brands, who can consume and produce with relentless speed. The rest are discarded, forgotten, or trapped in endless cycles of debt and insecurity. It's a brutal calculus where compassion is a weakness and ambition a necessity. This obsession with money and status erodes our relationships too. We treat friendships and love like transactions, calculating what we get in return or how someone reflects on our image. Genuine connection becomes rare because it requires vulnerability, time, and trust, things that don't fit neatly into a consumerist framework. Instead, we settle for surface-level interactions, texting instead of talking, liking instead of listening. We replace presence with distraction, affection with applause. The irony is that in trying so hard to be seen and validated, we become more invisible to each other. We lose sight of the fact that what truly matters isn't what we have or how many people follow us, but how deeply we connect with the people who matter. Celebrities embody this contradiction perfectly. They are both symbols of ultimate success and tragic prisoners of the same system. Their lives are public property, dissected and judged endlessly. We elevate them to godlike status, craving their approval and validation, even as we watch them fall apart. Their struggles with mental health, addiction, and loneliness are often hidden beneath the glitz, but they are real and they mirror the struggles of so many of us. The obsession with celebrity distracts us from our own pain and from the pain of the world around us. It teaches us to look outward for answers and escape rather than inward for healing and understanding. The consumer culture teaches us to fear silence and boredom because they expose the emptiness inside. We fill every moment with noise music, podcasts, social media, endless entertainment, anything to avoid the uncomfortable quiet where our true feelings live. But in doing so, we lose touch with ourselves. We forget how to sit with discomfort, how to face our fears, how to find peace in stillness. The noise becomes a shield that protects us from the reality we don't want to face. That chasing money and fame can never fill the void inside us. The environmental destruction caused by this relentless consumption is another layer of this tragedy. We live as if the earth is an endless resource to be exploited, ignoring the damage we cause with every purchase. The plastic in the oceans, the smog in the air, the forests raised for shopping malls are the price we pay for this obsession. The planet's suffering is a mirror of our own spiritual decay, reminder that what we consume comes at a cost far greater than a credit card bill. It is a debt that no amount of money can ever repay. I feel this weight every day, the sense that I'm caught in a system that demands more than I can give, that sells me illusions I don't want, that asks me to trade my time, my health, my soul, for things that ultimately mean nothing. I want to break free, to find meaning beyond the marketplace, to connect with people beyond the screen. But the chains are strong, and the distractions are many. It is easier to surrender to the current than to swim against it. Still, I hold on to the possibility that there is another way, a way to live without worshipping money or celebrities, without defining ourselves by what we own or how many people watch us, a way to find value in kindness, in creativity, in quiet moments of presence, a way to reclaim our humanity from the machinery of consumption. It feels distant, almost impossible, but it is worth striving for. The first step is awareness, seeing the system for what it is and refusing to be a willing participant. The next is choice, choosing to spend time on things that nourish the soul rather than the wallet, choosing to support real connection over shallow fame, choosing to value people for who they are rather than what they have. These choices feel small, maybe even futile against the vast machinery of consumer culture, but they are where change begins. I am tired of the constant noise, the endless chase, the shallow victories, but I am also wary of giving in completely, because surrendering means losing what little authenticity remains in a world built on illusion. So I keep going, caught between despair and hope, between the machine and the desire to be truly free. It is a difficult path, lonely and uncertain, but it is the only one I know. I keep wondering how we got so lost, how a whole generation learned to trade everything meaningful for hollow rewards. It feels like we were raised on a steady diet of ads and celebrity gossip, told over and over that the way to win at life is by collecting things, by becoming famous, by stacking up evidence of success in the form of money and followers. I remember a time, or maybe just a story I heard. When people connected face to face, when conversations weren't interrupted by the buzz of a phone or the urge to check likes. Now, the best moments are filtered through a lens, scripted for an audience that barely knows us but judges us anyway. We perform constantly, never truly present, always waiting for the next dopamine hit from a notification, the next rush of superficial approval. The real tragedy is how deeply this worship has burrowed into our identities. We begin to see ourselves only through the lens of wealth and status, turning our lives into brands to be marketed and consumed. Vulnerability becomes a liability, and genuine emotions are masked by carefully crafted images. We fear being invisible, so we shout louder, post more, buy more, hoping to fill the void that never fills. But the harder we chase, the more it slips away, like sand through clenched fists. We are prisoners in gilded cages, trapped by the very things we thought would set us free. I feel the coldness of this truth every time I scroll through social media and see endless arrays of smiling faces and perfect lives. It's a parade of illusions designed to make us feel smaller, less worthy, less enough. We forget that behind every perfect photo is a mess of struggles and pain. The comparison eats away at us silently, eroding our self-worth until all that remains is a desperate craving to be seen, to be valued, to be loved, even if it's only through a screen. The isolation is profound. We are alone together in a digital crowd, screaming into voids that respond with silence or apathy. Then there's the cruelty of celebrity culture. We worship those who are often the most broken among us, elevating their pain and excess as entertainment. Their struggles become public spectacles, consumed with voyeuristic hunger. We forget they are people, not gods. We forget that behind the makeup and the flashing cameras, they too feel lost and empty. The constant glare of fame is a prison, and we cheer them on as they dance on its razor edge. It's a toxic cycle, our need for spectacle feeding their need for attention. Both of us trapped in roles that leave us hollow. This obsession with money and fame isn't new, but its scale and intensity feel unprecedented. It infiltrates every part of our lives, shaping how we think, feel, and interact. It teaches us to value the superficial over the substantial, to see others as competitors instead of companions. It erodes empathy and replaces it with envy. It breaks down communities and replaces them with audiences. And through it all, the planet suffers quietly, crushed beneath the weight of our excess. I sometimes wonder if it's even possible to escape this madness, to find a way to live without bowing to these false gods, to see ourselves and each other as more than just consumers and performers, to rebuild connections based on authenticity, kindness, and shared humanity. It seems like an impossible task in a world designed to distract and divide, but still, the thought lingers. Still, the small flicker of resistance refuses to die. I don't pretend to have the answers. I only know what it feels like to be awake in this nightmare, to see the machinery grinding away at everything real and human, to feel the ache of loneliness in a room full of people chasing ghosts, to long for a life that isn't dictated by algorithms and advertising. I carry this burden quietly, like a secret I can't share, hoping that somehow, somewhere, there are others who feel it too, that we're not entirely alone in this vast, hollow landscape. Maybe that's enough for now to hold onto the possibility that beneath the surface of this glittering facade, there is still something worth fighting for, something real, something human, and maybe one day that something will be enough to bring us back from the edge. I think about how money's influence seeps into every corner of our lives. It's not just about the bank account or the paycheck anymore. It's the way it shapes our dreams, our choices, our sense of self. We measure success by digits and dollars, reducing everything meaningful to transactions and numbers. The pressure to accumulate, to display, to perform financial prosperity feels relentless. It whispers that if you don't have enough, you don't matter. It convinces us to sacrifice our time, our health, our relationships for an endless chase that never ends in satisfaction. We become so focused on building wealth that we forget to build lives. The irony is brutal. While we race to secure our futures, we sacrifice the present, the moments that actually make life worth living. We miss sunsets and conversations because we're stuck working, hustling, grinding for that next raise or promotion. We trade freedom for security, passion for stability, authenticity for approval. We buy into the myth that money equals happiness, but the truth is that more money often means more stress, more isolation, more disconnection from what matters. The world markets comfort and status as solutions, but what they really breed is anxiety and alienation. The constant bombardment of advertisements trains us to feel inadequate, to want more, always more. It's a never-ending loop of desire and consumption designed to keep us hooked. Even our social interactions are affected. We don't just buy products, we buy lifestyles, identities, belonging. The brands we consume become extensions of who we are, at least who we want to appear to be. We craft personas based on the latest trends and endorsements, losing sight of the authentic selves beneath. In this way, consumerism doesn't just shape the economy, it shapes our very identities, our values, our relationships. And then there's celebrity worship, which feeds into this cycle by offering us idols who embody these ideals of success and consumption. We watch their extravagant lives and pretend it's attainable, a goal worth chasing. Their fame and wealth are the new markers of worth, and we feel smaller and more invisible by comparison. The irony is that many celebrities are just as trapped in the system, caught in a performance that never ends, their private pain masked by public adoration. Yet we continue to place them on pedestals, desperately hoping to find meaning or escape vicariously through their stories. The effect of this worship culture on mental health is devastating. It fosters anxiety, depression, and loneliness on a massive scale. We are constantly comparing ourselves to impossible standards, bombarded with curated images that make us feel less than. The pressure to appear successful and happy online is suffocating, creating a cycle of performative joy and hidden despair. Authentic connection becomes rare because we are afraid to show our true selves for fear of rejection or judgment. The very things that should nurture us, community, empathy, vulnerability, are eroded by this obsession with image and status. All the while, the world around us crumbles quietly. Environmental destruction accelerates as consumer culture demands more resources and energy. The planet's suffering is largely invisible beneath the glittering surface of capitalism. The floods, fires, and famines are side effects of a system that values profit over sustainability. We are complicit in this destruction, caught in a cycle of desire and waste that few have the power or will to break. It is a tragedy that the worship of money blinds us to the sacredness of the earth that sustains us. I sometimes wonder how much longer we can keep this up before the cracks become too wide to ignore. The social divides deepen, the political chaos intensifies, and the economy swings between booms and busts, leaving most of us behind. The illusion of progress feels fragile, like a house of cards ready to collapse. We tell ourselves stories of growth and innovation, but beneath it all, the foundations are eroding. It's hard not to feel a creeping despair when every headline feels like a countdown to disaster. Yet, here we are, still pushing forward, still clinging to the hope that the next thing, whether it's more money, more fame, or the next big tech breakthrough, will save us. The system is designed to keep us distracted, to keep us chasing shadows, while the real problems deepen. It's exhausting, and sometimes I feel like giving up completely, but the alternative is numbness, and that is a fate worse than despair. Maybe the only way out is to stop worshipping, to stop placing money and celebrities on pedestals so high that we forget our own worth, to stop consuming without question, to stop comparing without mercy, to remember that beneath the noise, beneath the spectacle, there is a quiet world waiting for USA, world of real connections, genuine experiences, and honest living. It's a small hope, but it is real. It is fragile, but it is alive. I don't know what tomorrow holds. I don't know if the world will change, or if we will keep repeating the same patterns until they break us. But I know I want something different. I want to belong to a world where love is more important than money, where kindness matters more than fame, where being human means more than being seen. Maybe that sounds naive, but it's the only thing that keeps me moving through the dark. I don't belong here anymore. Not in this world that worships money like a god, that wraps its cold, indifferent hands around everything good and turns it into a commodity to be bought and sold. I watch people march willingly into the cages, built of credit cards and endless ads, convinced that the next purchase will finally fill the aching void inside. But it never does. Instead, it hollows us out further, leaving us empty shells clutching the latest gadgets, the newest fashions, the fleeting thrill of likes and followers that vanish the moment the screen goes dark. This is the religion of our age, and we are its fervent disciples, bowing down to the altar of consumption while our souls quietly wither. The worship of money is more than just a habit. It is a collective sickness that infects every corner of our lives, from the way we measure success to how we value each other. It twists our understanding of worth until it is nothing more than a number on a bank statement or a tally of possessions. We have learned to trade our time, our health, and even our humanity for the promise of financial security, a promise that is always just out of reach. Like a mirage shimmering on the horizon of a desert we cannot escape, consumer culture is a machine designed to keep us spinning endlessly, chasing shadows of happiness disguised as products and experiences. Advertisements scream at us from every surface, telling us we are incomplete, flawed, and in desperate need of their fix. The latest phone, the perfect body, the dream vacation, the influencer lifestyle, all meticulously crafted illusions that promise fulfillment but deliver only distraction. We fill our lives with things, believing that if we just buy enough, we will finally be free. But freedom is a lie sold to us in glossy magazines and sponsored posts. It is the cage we build around ourselves with each swipe and each purchase. Our identities are consumed and repackaged as brands to be marketed and consumed in turn. We curate our lives for an audience of strangers, seeking validation through likes and shares, trading authenticity for approval. The more we consume, the less we feel. The more we chase, the further the finish line moves away. And then there are the celebrities, the modern gods of our hollow religion. We worship them not because of their talents or their kindness, but because they embody the ideal we all crave: wealth, fame, power. We watch their every move, devour their scandals, imitate their styles, hoping that some piece of their shining lives will rub off on us. But behind the flashing cameras and red carpets lies the same loneliness and emptiness we all feel, masked by carefully constructed personas and relentless public scrutiny. The cult of celebrity is a cruel illusion, a distraction from our own brokenness and from the deeper problems of a society that values spectacle over substance. We celebrate these idols while ignoring the suffering and injustice that churn beneath the surface of our consumerist paradise. We cheer for the stars as the world around us falls apart. The oceans choke on plastic, forests burn to fuel endless growth. Inequality widens into a chasm that swallows millions. Money and fame have become the currency of meaning, but they are counterfeit coins. They cannot buy happiness, nor can they fill the void left by lost connection and community. The more we worship these false idols, the more disconnected we become from ourselves and each other. Genuine relationships are sacrificed at the altar of status and appearance. We are surrounded by people, yet profoundly alone, connected only through screens that mediate our interactions and filter our emotions. The culture of consumption replaces empathy with envy, kindness with competition. We measure our worth by how well we play a rigged game where the rules are written by those who profit from our distraction and division. The environmental cost of this obsession is staggering, yet conveniently ignored. We consume without thought, leaving behind a trail of destruction that threatens the very survival of our species. The air grows thick with poison, the waters rise and drown the coasts, species vanish in silence, and we scroll past the headlines like they are background noise. Our addiction to more blinds us to the limits of the planet, and the illusion of endless progress crumbles beneath the weight of reality. We tell ourselves stories of technological salvation, while the foundations of our world erode. The worship of money blinds us to the sacredness of the earth, treating it as a resource to be exploited rather than a home to be cherished. I feel like a ghost trapped in this fractured world, detached and disillusioned, watching as people trade their souls for the promise of wealth and fame. The endless chase wears them thin, hollowing out their spirits until all that remains is a performance for the camera or the screen. The noise is deafening, the distractions relentless. It is easier to pretend everything is fine than to face the void. Yet beneath it all, a quiet ache persists, a longing for something real, something that cannot be bought or sold. I hold on to that ache, fragile and flickering, because without it, I am nothing but a hollow shell. Maybe one day this worship will end, or maybe it will consume us all. I don't know if there's an escape hatch from this cycle, or if we're doomed to spin forever, clutching at illusions that never satisfy. The systems that feed on our desire for more are vast and deeply entrenched, and breaking free feels like trying to uproot a mountain with bare hands. But even in the darkest moments, I catch glimpses of something else. Small acts of kindness, quiet rebellions against the machine, people choosing connection over consumption, meaning over status. These flickers of humanity remind me that maybe all is not lost, that beneath the cold, hard surface of this consumer-driven world, there still beats a heart that longs to be free. It's hard to hold on to that hope when everything around me screams otherwise, when every billboard, every screen, every conversation is saturated with the message that our worth is defined by what we own and how famous we are. But I try to look past the noise, to find value in the things money can't buy: the laughter of friends, the silence of a night sky, the warmth of genuine presence. I try to remind myself that the measure of a life is not in its possessions or followers, but in its moments of real connection and meaning. I don't know how long I can keep walking this line between despair and hope, between the weight of the world and the fragile light of resistance. But I do know this: worshipping money and celebrity won't save us. It only deepens the void. The salvation we seek lies in rediscovering what it means to be truly human, flawed, vulnerable, connected, and real. Maybe that's the rebellion. Maybe that's the revolution. Not in grand gestures or violent upheavals, but in quiet refusals to participate, in choosing authenticity over illusion, in seeking love and kindness in a world built to ignore them. This world may not belong to me, but I still want to belong to something true, and maybe that is enough to keep moving forward, one small step at a time.